No, that's not a typo. There are absolutely reasons why you'd pick up a TicWatch 5 Pro over the competition like a Galaxy Watch 6 or certainly the Pixel Watch when I tell you about the two main reasons that I think this watch is set apart from anything else in the marketplace. Before I get to those, Mobvoi has made some year-over-year improvements that are smaller, but I still think add up when we're talking about the TicWatch Pro 5 versus the TicWatch, I think it was the Pro 3 Ultra GPS Ultimate, whatever. TicWatch, Mobvoi has cleaned up the naming convention quite a bit this year, and I appreciate it. So let's talk about those smaller changes. I like the refinements to the design. This feels like an overall better watch this year, and I want to start on the right side of the device when we're talking about the rotating crown and the button. These are a lot better than last year's crown and buttons, I believe it was, on the two sides. Those felt cheaper. These feel solid, premium. I love rotating the crown. It feels good. And this button is nice and clicky and solid, so you're going to get a better experience there. This is more along the lines of what you'll find on a Galaxy Watch, so I do like that improvement. Aluminum case here, military drop tested, so you're getting that extra protection, and it does have Gorilla Glass on top. Maybe you would have liked to have seen Sapphire in this price range, but it does have some upgraded glass there, so it's going to protect against fingerprints and smudges and scratches and stuff like that for daily wear. They did change the band size, which I thought was curious. They went from 22 millimeters on last year's device to 24 millimeters this year. Not a huge problem. They're still interchangeable. Sites will still sell you 24 millimeter bands. It's just a little harder to maybe find the one that you want in 24 millimeters as opposed to last year's 22, but that's not a huge issue. So let's talk about one of the huge things and the biggest reason why, in my eyes, you'd get yourself a TicWatch Pro 5, and that is the outstanding battery life. Last year's battery was phenomenal. They've increased the size of the battery this year. They claim on their website 80 hours of battery life. Now, if you do a lot of sleep tracking every night, if you're doing a lot of workouts throughout the week, I could see hitting that 80-hour mark. However, this is one case where I feel like a company has underestimated or understated the battery life and over-delivered. I can get pretty close to a week with this. If you're just using it for some fitness stuff, some notifications basically, and fitness stuff, and you're using mostly the outer display, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But the battery life on this thing, to be able to have a smartwatch that you're not thinking about in a 24-hour period, hey, when can I find a half hour to charge this thing up? When can I, what night am I going to sacrifice sleep tracking, or am I going to be able to sleep track through the night and then wake up and have a half hour in the morning before I have to go in order to charge up the watch? And if you forget to do it, you can't take it with you, and you pick the thing up and it's stone dead. That's never going to be the case with the TicWatch Pro 5. And that peace of mind, that little extra jump there, is what makes this something that I put in the rotation. Because I can have this on the nightstand for 3-4 days. It's not going to drain. In fact, I've had this off my wrist now. I've been retesting the Pixel Watch. I've had this off my wrist now for almost a week, and it's just blinking now to the point where it needs a charge. So that's a really impressive standby battery. So if you're someone who likes to mix in some analog watches, maybe some other smartwatches, this is one that you can kind of set it and forget it, put it off to the side, charge it once a week, and you're going to be fine. Part of the reason why I think they're able to get to that battery number and an upgrade over last year's device is that secondary transflective display. It's a regular LCD panel on top of the OLED panel that you get for the regular apps and turn-by-turn navigation and heart rate and all the rest of it. There's a secondary panel that sits here that you could see that's more like your Casio. And unlike last year, it's got a lot more information on here. We've got heart rate, we've got steps, we've got notifications up here, we've got the date, we've got a few different things. And if you say, well, geez, that's hard to see, well, you flick it up and you could choose the color. You get backlighting like you would on a Casio. This is why I set it to this blue. It looks like, it reminds me of that electroluminescence color, but you do the flick, the raise to wake, and that's what you get. So unlike those other always-on displays, Unlike those ones that are going to really tax the battery on your device and get it to under 24 hours, this one really does nothing. It takes nothing to keep this going. It's almost like you have a quartz watch on your wrist to check the time, check the date, just kind of see some things at a glance. But then when you need it, you have a fully functioning smartwatch underneath. And so let's talk about some of that function. It's got the Snapdragon W5 Plus Gen 1. That's the newer chip. It's snappy. I've had no problems. I'm going to go ahead and get into it here. There we go. Got it open. Took me a moment, but I decided to charge it up a little bit so it wouldn't conk out on me in the middle of the review. But no issues whatsoever. The Snapdragon is really snappy, as you can tell from the name. But love it. It is Wear OS 3, 3.2, I believe, not 3.5 for those that it matters for. I will say one thing. Mobvoi is not the quickest with updates. I think the TicWatch 3 just got Wear OS 3, if it's not in beta, something like that. But that took a little bit longer than people would have liked. So that's something to think about if you're looking forward to Wear OS 4, because there are some cool things about Wear OS 4 coming down the pike that you might be waiting a little bit if you do pick up a TicWatch. Now, the Mobvoi app is not great either. It's okay. I shouldn't say that. It's pretty good. It gets the job done. The tracking is good. At least you don't need a subscription to be able to track and use all the sensors on this thing, which is a bonus. Unlike a lot of the watches that you get out there, say you have that. So I still use Google Fit, though, for a lot of the stuff. Only because I like the way Google Fit works. You could sync it with a few different devices. You can have data points coming from all over the place. So I just kind of centrally locate stuff on Google Fit. But if you have to use the Mobvoi app, it's still fine. It'll give you the sleep information. It'll give you deep sleep. It'll give you light sleep. It'll give you all that stuff. So, and there's kind of actionable stuff in there. It'll give you, this has blood oxygen. It has the VO2 max. It has all those sensors that you'd expect. It has skin temperature, which is only overnight right now. I believe it doesn't have kind of on-demand during the day skin tracking, skin temperature tracking. So if that's something you need for cycles, or you like to keep track of that, or you're looking for a watch with that, just keep that in mind. I believe right now that's limited to overnight tracking only. They've upgraded it 2 gigs of RAM over 1 gig of RAM last year. To be honest, these smartwatch apps don't really need a lot. So I didn't notice a huge difference I didn't really notice a deficiency last year, and this year it's just this extra snappy. But overall, I like the build quality. I like a lot of the things about it. The price, $349. You want to say it's pricey? Sure. But if battery life is your spec, if battery life is the one thing that you look for in a smartwatch, and perhaps you're not a daily smartwatch user, perhaps you're not a religious Galaxy Watch or Pixel Watch user, but you do want something that's not a super expensive Garmin or a Fitbit or something like that to wear around when you're being active, when you're out, when you're trying to do your activities or whatever it is, but bowling, if it's in my case, something like that, you're sporting, you're at the gym. You want something that's going to keep track of heart rate, sleep. This is something you could pick up and go and not have to worry about it because of that battery life. You're going to have several days. See, I was just a few minutes and I got 21% back. Charging is fast as well. Proprietary charger comes with the phone. But overall, I like it for that reason. So yeah, are you paying the big bucks? Are you paying something like you'd normally get on a Galaxy Watch? And are you getting that kind of build quality? Not really, but you are getting outstanding battery life and the most usable always-on display in the business when it comes to that outer transflective display. And then you add in, and you can optimize those colors. You could change them to your liking. You can have it purple. You don't have to have the electroluminescence blue, but that's what I prefer. But just really a lot to like about this secondary display, and you kind of pop it on and you see a lot of notifications. I like the enhancement that they've made to it. Made it a little bit more useful so you're not going into that watch that extra dozen or so times a day if you don't have to, if all that information is right there on the main screen for you to see at any given time. I like that. If you're in the same boat, go ahead, pick one up. Link will be in the description. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.